Hey everyone, Keenan Gray here from DyeStat.com, bringing you another edition of DyeStat Discussions. It seems like, forever ago since the World Indoor Championships and so many storylines that were developed throughout that entire time in Nanjing. And, probably one of the best storylines of the entire meet is this young woman right here and her first time. I think she just should call retirement at this point. Just she's got a gold medal already underway. So, Claire, call the retirement while you can. But Claire Bryant, of course, world champion in the women's long jump, 6.96 meters, which us Americans will have to do some math with that and try to figure out what that is. But nonetheless, she's a world champion, and she joins us here on this episode of DyeStat Discussions. So, Claire, what is 9.96 meters in feet and inches?
Oh, right when you said that, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I don't even know the conversion." Someone told me it was like 22:10, and then someone else told me it was like 22:8 or 9, so give or take, it's a high 22. I'm trying to become like the rest of the world and know 696 is far before having to convert it.
Well, the closer you get to 7 meters, then we really know you're jumping really far
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
So, but first world championships, and you come away with a gold medal. I guess the simplest thing I can ask, how'd you do it?
I know my accuracy rate's pretty good so far. Um, Dang, how did I do it? I don't know, I just think it was a huge, blessing, really, and I don't know, going into that meet, um, like a week leading up, while in Gainesville, a week leading up in training, I was just thinking, like, I have the opportunity, like, I've been given this opportunity to go to China to represent the US. Like, if you have the opportunity, you have the chance to do it. So why not kind of like live in that mindset of like, I have the opportunity, let's go for it. And I don't know, I was just thinking like, not even just in track and field, but so many areas of people's lives. Like, not everyone gets the opportunity to live out their dream or have the opportunity to kind of like, I don't know about complete their passion because again, I'm not retiring quite yet. But yeah, so I was just like I just tried to live in a mode of like this is so cool, this is a blessing, and this is awesome.
Well, before we kind of dive deep into, the actual moment when you became a world champion, let's tell people kind of a little bit about your background. You are from Houston, Texas. You were a multiple state champion in the UIL. Obviously, went on to go to the University of Florida. Had a great time at the University of Florida. Didn't win an NCAA title, but contributed to a lot of points, whether it's at SEC championships or at NCAA championships. How would you describe yourself as an athlete? Dating back to when you started. Maybe you started jumping in middle school, high school. How would you describe yourself?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, I think I've evolved quite a bit, but um, I don't know. I think I when I'm my best self during jumping, it's when I am kind of carefree. Um, Whether it's like in I don't know, like the state championship when like I don't really even realize how big of a deal it is. I think I won as like a sophomore, like that was really cool. Or like, yeah, freshman year indoors, or freshman year indoors for college. I got second at the national championships. And I didn't even like my coaches didn't even tell me I was the last person to qualify. So I think if I could describe myself at my best when jumping, it's just a mode of this is cool, so I'm just gonna keep going. But I mean, I'd also say like outside of track, I would describe myself as a person of faith, and I think that hopefully permeates through my sport as well, not just my personal life.
Would you say when you started jumping, were you a little bit more naive when you kind of got into it? Because, like you said, like as a sophomore, you didn't quite realize, what you had accomplished winning a state championship, at 15, 16 years old. And, when you're a sophomore in high school in the state of Texas, like that's a big deal.
For sure. I feel like I didn't grow up watching track. Okay, when I would get interviews when I was younger, I was so nervous for them to ask me like, um, "Who's your track idol? Like, who do you look up to?" I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know this sport. I don't know what's going on. I just like am athletic enough to jump." And I had really good coaches in high school, so like I was able to be kind of coached up, I think more than maybe most high schoolers, but for sure, I had no idea what was going on, like, most of the time. Like, even in college, I was like, "Oh, like, SECs, like, that's a big deal," or, like, nationals, that's a big deal, but I don't know, sometimes that's more fun, like, just focusing on, um, the actual event, not everything surrounding it and the hype and I don't know, whatever.
How were you introduced to track?
I'd say in, like, 5th grade, I was doing, like, basketball and golf. And golf doesn't really use my skill set, I would say, but basketball did. And there was my mom said that it was kind of like a God moment because she had never even considered track as something to put me in. Um, but two people in the same week were like, "Have you ever thought about putting Claire in track?" And she was like, "Okay, maybe we'll do this." So then, yeah, I started it out and then kind of just went with it. Yeah, 5th grade on.
What's your parents' background when it comes to athletics?
They would love this question. My mom went to college at Kansas for tennis. And then
Mhm.
I'd say my dad's just like an all around athlete. He probably could have done some tennis in college, but no, his best thing is that he can beat my mom in tennis. So that's kind of he's like they kind of fight. They're like whose genes are to show on the world stage and whose genes have helped Claire more, and they bicker about that.
So was tennis even a thought for you growing up as something you wanted to do?
My mom was too burnt out. She's like, "I'm not teaching any of my kids this." It's like, "I'm too tired. I've done this for forever." So,
Mm.
no, not really. I'd say golf, like, my dad grew up doing golf and really enjoys golf. So, like, all growing up, I did golf. And I would say I can hold my own at Top Golf, and I can hold my own on the putt-putt course for sure. Um, so yeah, but that was a, kind of like a childhood sport growing up, I'd say.
I won't ask you your score if you have gone out on for an 18 hole. Based on that reaction, we don't even want to know what the score is. Probably.
Hey, listen, I mean, I can get through a round. We just might have to have a couple, like, auxiliary balls for the water shots.
Like I said, we'll stick with the long jumping stuff. The golf thing can be a side gig as
Right,
well.
right.
So, when did you kind of start realizing though track became your thing? Even though, as you said, like you didn't really understand the sport, you didn't know anything about the sport, but there was something about you that it said, "I have talent, and maybe could be something I could do in the future."
I'd say I would say, like, at each level of track, I was so nervous like, going from never doing track to 5th grade, I remember, like, my first practice and being it was just a normal club practice, like, I was super nervous because I was like, "Oh my gosh, these kids are probably really good." And then you're like, "Okay, it's 5th graders, like, no, and so I kinda realized, like, "Oh, I'm pretty good at this level." 5th grade club track. And then, middle school, I was like, "Okay, I actually am, like, winning some meets. Oh, like, alright." And then I did, like, Junior Olympics. I think I won one of those. I don't know, it kind of blurs, but, and then I went from middle school to high school, and I was super nervous. I was like, "Oh my gosh, like, high school, people gotta be really everyone has to be better than me." Like, that's what I would think. But yeah, that, like, wasn't the case. I wouldn't say my high school was, like, a strong track school at all. Like, I was the only person that would go to state for my school. So, and then again, when I went to college, I was freaked out because I knew I was a top recruit, I think, yeah, I knew I was a top recruit, but I just was like, no way, like I belong, I guess. And I don't know. Then I kind of quickly realized, like, no, I can hold my own. And I think that, again, just at each level, there was like a confidence building. And I think that even showed itself a little bit in the fall with going pro, which I was like, oh my gosh, like, am I good enough for this? Especially being unsponsored. I was like, okay, like, am I good enough for companies to want me? Am I good enough to do this on this next level? Um, and it's going to be so, so hard. And I think I just had to put my confidence elsewhere. Like I couldn't put my confidence in um, outside forces. I had to focus on like me and my faith and kind of seeing how God could provide confidence and provide like aid for this sport. So yeah.
Either you kind of underestimate yourself, or you haven't maybe reached your potential yet. But how is it you keep growing this confidence, whether it was at the high school level, at the college level, and now at the world stage? I mean, people know who you are now based off what they saw last week in Nanjing.
Yeah. How do I grow my confidence? I think having people in your life that will like beat it into you. Like Coach P would, if he was right here, he would be like, "Oh my gosh," um, because he told me like at the beginning of the fall when I was kind of, I don't know, just struggling a little bit. He was like, "If you don't believe you should be here, why are you here at all?" And then he said like, "Why are you discrediting my belief in you? Why are you discrediting God's belief in you? Like, there's so many people around you that believe in you. Why are you not believing them and then believing in yourself?" So, I don't know, like my close friends, like Jasmine Moore, like Anna Hall, Grace Stark, Coach P, Coach Welty, so many people were in my corner, and I think that is so helpful.
A lot of people that I could name probably from your team that were at Paris this last summer is probably just off the chart.
Yeah.
How much, kind of an influence has Jasmine been for you? I'm sure when she came into the college scene, she was probably like, nervous, like, how could I compete with these top women in this field? Like, in your case, it sounds like the sense of confidence was not there, but when you have someone that's a bronze medalist in both the triple and the long, like, that's pretty nice to probably have in your corner, especially now as a pro.
Yeah, jazz is great. We both were Texas athletes, and so I really just knew her as a competitor in high school. But it's been so great for our relationship to grow, not just as training partners, but also as friends and really close friends. And like I always enjoy our she's great on every level, but this is gonna sound so small, but I really enjoy our warm-ups. Like, we're usually at the same time. Um, and people will make fun of us because we just run one lap for a warm-up and then we do drills. But that one lap, we end up running really fast. Like fast for a warm-up. We're like moving because we're talking and chatting and like, oh, how was church? Like, oh, it was good. Oh, what do you think about this? And we're like dropping people. So it's been so great to yeah, develop that relationship and deepen it. And I'm excited. I'm in Houston right now at my family house, or the house I grew up in, but I'll head back to Gainesville like Sunday or in a couple days. And yeah, I'm sure I'll get to see all my special people.
When you both qualified for World Indoors this year, what was that moment like for both of you in New York when she won the triple jump and you got second in the long jump?
Well, she didn't end up going to indoors for either. So, I mean, I don't know, but I think it's a testament to her character that she was just so excited for me. And like she came up after and just said, like, I'm so proud of you. So yeah, if anything, that's just a testament to who she is. Like rain or shine. Jasmine is going to be supportive. And yeah, I'm just really thankful for her.
Well, let me ask you this then. Since she didn't go, was there a part of you that's just like, okay, going on my own right now. I'm not going with my friend. Like, how am I going to feel about this?
Well, Grace Stark made it, and I'm very close with her, so I feel like that was kind of fun. But I did like kind of travel on my own. And I mean, I've never even been to Europe, so I kind of skipped that and went to China. So, but no, I would say there wasn't a fear. I was just so excited. Again, I was just operating out of it being a blessing. So like I couldn't be worried about something that I considered so great and fun. And I don't know, I think I found I love making track. I feel like this meet and this time in China, we had like 6 days before the competition. So and there's not much to do. Like my phone wasn't working most of the time. So um you got to have like an hour and a half lunch with people. And I got to make track so much smaller. And it was so fun chatting with people that I had watched and admired for so many years, become someone that I'm like eating dessert with or grabbing coffee or tea with. And it's so cool to see people that yeah, you've seen from afar and you've observed their maybe personality or talent or passion or grit. And then, yeah, you're across the table and you're getting to see kind of like a whole new side. So I met a lot of cool people on this trip.
So I know as far as Florida Gators were there, you had Corey Patterson, you had Grant Holloway, you had Grace Stark, yourself. Am I missing anybody? Was there anybody else from Florida that was there?
Oh, I better not miss it. But I think that was it. I think that was it.
So was there some sort of comfort in knowing that, you had a couple of alumni, even though, Grant was a little bit before your time, before you got to the University of Florida, but he's as people like to say these days, he's kind of the unk of the of
Mhm.
the of the track and
LOL.
field world, at least in the United States.
For sure. It was just fun. It's fun seeing familiar faces and especially like seeing people from other colleges that you've competed against and are now like friends or whatever. So yeah, I mean it's always going to be great when you're far away to still have familiar faces. And it was fun seeing Grant afterwards, after both of our podium ceremonies, and we like got a pic, and it was cool just kind of reminiscing on how far um, I met Grant when I was a freshman and he was already a pro. And uh, it's fun to end up now both on Team USA with golds.
So you get to China, as you said, you had a couple days, you kind of just do your thing, meet people, explore. What were those couple of first days like? Just, realizing, all right, I'm here for an opportunity to compete for Team USA, but also like this is my first time outside the country before. Like I've never done anything like this before.
um, so I was like, yeah, so I was like, I have this opportunity to go for gold, to compete, to have a good time while competing. But yeah, it's not like these 6 days or I don't know, 5 days before are a waste. So I did kind of challenge myself, like, how are you going to use this time effectively as a benefit to myself and others? It's not just a waste. And I think track and field athletes can tend to like bunker down, where it's like conserve energy. And I'm not knocking anyone that does that, but that doesn't really work for me. Just to like stay in the hotel room, like elevate your legs and like watch movies. Like I knew that wasn't going to be my days leading up to my championship. So I feel like I just found a lot of like-minded people through like Ronnie Baker, who I'd never talked to prior to this meet. Like invited me to a Team USA Bible study, and I just thought that was so cool to see athlete-led, kind of like faith circles, I would say. And you just got to hear again these people like Nia Atkins or something, where these people that are so cool, honestly, and you're getting to hear them be like a little bit more vulnerable, or Ronnie talk like leading this Bible study and talking about coming to this meet and why he's here and stuff like that. So it was, I think that is how I spent most of my days leading up was, connecting with people that wanted to connect. And I would say, as you can see my teacup here, I don't really drink coffee, but I drink tea. And I was like on a hunt for tea because I really only drink like English breakfast, but I was really trying to broaden my horizons. And so I finally found some like the last day. I found some like oolong tea. So that was also like a hunt, I would say.
So to kind of that degree, was there a certain food that you're like, all right, I'm so used to barbecue back home, but I can
Mhm.
make sushi, like authentics, or not sushi. That's Japan, but like, there's got to be something that's cuisine that I got to try here in China.
No, yeah. I'd say I'm like more of a foodie, so I was like, I'll just try anything and everything for the most part. And so I was having like noodles. I basically ate like noodles with like I probably like chicken broth and stuff like that every day. Like for the first 3 days, breakfast, lunch, dinner. Until I got sick of them. But I really liked some people that were local to Nanjing were like, you need to try the crispy duck, which I guess was like Peking duck, but a little bit different. Probably just like like just this area had a little bit of a different flair to it. That stuff was fire. It was so good. I had it every single time the hotel offered it. Like that was fire. And the little buns, like the little steamed pork buns and the sweet buns. I like absolutely destroyed the buffet line. Like I was trying everything. It was so good.
So barbecue or Chinese food now?
Well, I'm a little like the Chinese food, I need a little bit of a break, I will say. But okay, I'm sorry, barbecue is so expensive. It's so annoying. I'm like I feel like I'm buying a cow when I'm going and getting like a plate of ribs. It's ridiculous. I'm like Texas needs to get off their like high horse a little bit. Like so I'd say when like my grandparents take me to barbecue, I'll take barbecue.
Well, when they're paying for it, of course you're going to take the barbecue.
Exactly. I'm like, I'll get like the quarter pound of brisket or something.
For you though, as fun as you had the first couple days, you had to wait the longest out of anybody. I mean, you had to go the last day. Granted, it was the morning session, but still, though, I mean, day one goes by, day two goes by. It's like, all right, we're here on day three. Like, what were those, kind of just mentally preparing yourself, knowing that closer and closer you got to competition, like, you couldn't go do probably as much fun as you had the first couple days. It was about locking in for this meet because at some point you were about to compete.
Yeah. I really try to take anything that could be a negative or seen as a negative as a positive. So when people are like, oh man, day three, like you got to wait a long time, it was like, well, my body gets to acclimate longer. And I think I actually kind of needed that. So anything that was like going to be a mess up or a negative, I was just like, well, this is actually a good thing. Even if you kind of have to convince yourself, like, like one, I'd say I was maybe proud of my mental like toughness was we knew that the women's high jump championship was going to on the tail end of our event of the long jump going to run into. So they were going to start their approaches on our runway. So basically, and we'd seen it happen with other events where it pretty much doubled the time of both events. Like, because now you have to wait for a high jumper, wait for a long jumper, wait for a high jumper, long jumper. Um, so that was definitely like a wrench thrown in. But I just decided like, oh, if I had to pick any event to run into my event, it would be the women's high jump because I knew so many of the girls. I knew Elena, I knew Charity Vashti. I had just met MK, the German high jumper, and then I just met Nicola, the champion, that week, and gotten kind of close with her because of her faith, and we had just gone to kind of like multiple I don't know, like faith meetings together. And it was super cool. So again, like it was actually such a blessing because when I won, I was hugging a lot of the long jumpers, but then I ended up hugging a lot of the high jumpers, and it was like, oh, it's a party.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and plus you're hanging out with, as you mentioned, Nicola Olaslagers, the young woman from Ukraine. I mean, these are two of the best high jumpers in the entire world that you're
Right.
surrounding yourself with, alongside, some of the best long jumpers in the world. And I know we missed some Florida Gators. Anthea Charlton was
uh,
in there as well.
I
So
knew we
if
were
she
forgetting
if she
someone.
calls you out on it, it's not my fault that I said it, but
Sorry, Anthea.
I was at New Balance Nationals indoors talking with some athletes with regards to the long jump runway, and I didn't know anything about this. I'm not necessarily a huge person that's knows about long jump, triple jump whatsoever, but what's this runway like? Because there are some people that said, the one at New Balance at the track at New Balance is a hard runway. There are some that are soft. What was this runway like?
I'm trying to think of New Balances because I mean I jumped pretty well there. Um, I think it's kind of similar because they're both flat. Like they're not raised like at maybe Arkansas or other meets where there's flat. It's a platform runway. Um, again, like at some point you have to be like, it doesn't really matter. Like I can jump far anywhere. And so again, yeah, I was looking at it and I was like, it's a flat track. It seems a little softer, a little spongier, which can be taken as a negative. But I was also like, it feels kind of bouncy. Like it definitely has some bounce to it. So I just tried to again focus on that where I'm like, it feels pretty good. And again, like, yeah, if you lit, there will always be opposition from equipment, from competitors, from yourself. Like if you let that get to you, like it's gonna be rough. And I really say that out of my own personal experience. Like I can tell quickly where my mental is at, and like if I'm letting a lot of things bother me, it's not a good sign, and I need to do something to get myself out of it. So if I'm nervous about XYZ, about the runway, about whatever, like it's not a good sign.
What was your mind at going into that competition on that day? You're in this arena, it's small, the lights are on you guys, everybody's watching you. Just take me through that morning for yourself and how you kind of mentally prepared for arguably the biggest competition of your life.
Mhm. Um, I woke up before my alarm. I woke up at like 4:45 in the morning. Um, and just again excited, right? Like I was just like, I'm ready for this. I'm not nervous and um I'm ready to go do this thing, right? And so again, like leading up to the competition, I was excited and knew I was ready for the meet. And then I'd say during, like, there's a moment, it doesn't really catch it on the TV or on like Peacock streaming, but there's a moment, I think it's like maybe at my like fifth jump or fourth jump, I don't even know. But I'm like laying down at the 60 start and I like have my hands up and I'm looking at all the lights that you mentioned, like, oh wow. And I'm just like, God, like, this is awesome. Thanks so much. Thank you for this meet and how it's going and that you're in my corner, right? Like I talk about all of my friends, coaches, parents that are in my corner, but yeah, if I didn't have God in my corner, I don't know. It just wouldn't be very fun. And so yeah, I think just taking a moment, even inside of the competition, to be like, live in this moment. It's so cool, right? It's the biggest competition of my life. Like that could be like a worry, right? But no, like everything was lining up and you just got to go out and take it. So yeah.
Everything, as you said, kind of lined up for you. You get the ball rolling, 770 or 676, which was the season's best for you. Again, 672, which would have also been a season's best for you. And then you jump 690 to end the first round.
Right.
If with a jump like that, which again, I don't know if 690 was a personal best for
Mhm.
you going into that final. But when you hit a mark like that, it's like, all right, I got some momentum rolling into the final. And I'm feeling pretty good about myself. When you hit 690, what were the instincts? What were the thoughts about it?
Hmm. Um, I think maybe it was a bit validating where a lot of my 670s this year have been on the back of the board. And so I'd given up a lot of inches or I guess centimeters. And so I think it was validating, like, oh, that's always, or not always been in there, but it's been present and I just hadn't been able to put it together. Um, but yeah, I think the 690 was just like a fruition of the work that people have put into me that I've put in for this meet. And really, honestly, I think that 690 reflects a no fear. Like sometimes a long jump can be kind of scary. Like you're running so fast and then you're supposed to take off this board and then like jump as far as you can. And I think that can inhibit, like if you're operating out of fear, like it's going to at some point hold you back. And so I think I just had, no, I don't think, I know, I just didn't have any fear. I was like, this is the time, let's just go for it. So I almost, I think the 672, my second jump, was as perfect on the board as you can get, but I was probably supposed to foul that. I like really um, caught myself. So I moved back a whole foot, and then I think that just gave me the freedom to go for the 690. And then speaking of freedom a little bit, I don't know if you know this. I was like consider or they were considering like DQing me for like the first three jumps. I was like, oh no.
Plain.
Yeah. So in my introduction, right, when they're introducing everyone's names, um again, like I am wanting to, I want people to know about my faith and the faith that they can have um in track, like as I'm competing, right? So um I held up a like piece of paper that said Jesus in Chinese, or like in Mandarin or in Chinese calligraphy, right?
Hmm.
And that is not allowed. And so before my first jump, a like World Athletics official, like I am up in maybe like three people. Like I'm getting ready to go. And he asks me, he said, hey, like what did your sign say? And I was like, oh, it said Jesus. And he's like, okay, just so you know, World Athletics doesn't allow religious symbols, so you could be disqualified for that. Oh. And I said, oh, I'm sorry. Well, I'm not sorry, but you know what I mean. And I said, please keep me updated. That would be good to know. And I just had to, in that moment, again, like that is a huge fear and worry where it's just like, okay, you're done. You didn't even get to jump. But I just had to be like, God, okay, like I'll jump if you like you just take care of all of that, please. And so I jumped and 676, great. And then I think before my second jump, he came up again and said, um, I need the sign because if you do it again, you'll for sure be disqualified. I was like, okay, please, yeah, you can have it. Don't worry about it. So I gave him the sign, and so it's still unclear, but they seemed like they were leaning more towards a warning. So I was like, okay, again, I'm just gonna focus on jumping. Like someone, like I know God will handle this, and then jump, and then I think it was before the 690. Um, our flight coordinator, so a different guy comes up to me and says like, hey, like I'm a Christian, I wanted you to know I wanted to give you a verbal warning, which is like honestly a slap on the wrist, like, hey, don't do that. But he said it's a very big meet and they need to make it official, so we're awarding you a yellow card, um, which there's no issues. Like you're free to jump and you're good. Just if you do something again, basically you'll be disqualified. I shook his hand immediately. I said, thank you. I appreciate the yellow card. I'll take it all day. I'll get a yellow card every day for Jesus. I don't really care. And yeah, and then again, jumping with freedom, right? Okay, I'm not getting disqualified. Like, let's go. And ended up doing pretty well.
So maybe a little bit of adrenaline after all of that you had to go through, and it's just like, oh, which here's the thing, and no politics, religious whatsoever. But I mean, in America, we can get away with stuff like that because there's freedom of speech, there's freedom of religion, all that stuff. But in the case for like China, maybe there's not, you won't necessarily get that opportunity. So maybe that's probably perhaps why the
Mhm.
World Athletics was like, hey, like Claire, you maybe take it down a little bit because you don't know who you're dealing with here, or like all that stuff. So, but well, I mean, it's incredible that you're able to still do that. But at the same time, stand up for your belief, and you're jumping for not only yourself, but for somebody else. Like this is your purpose. You're doing something out there on the runway. So I applaud you for, you know, being, I guess, I don't know if brave is the right word, but like,
Yeah,
expressing yourself in some way out there. And as I said, like I think the adrenaline like went right through the roof
mhm, for sure.
after you showed that. So, but now now lesson learned for future stuff. Like you kind of have to take a step back and you
I'll figure
keep that
something
stuff to
else
yourself.
out.
Exactly. But one of the things you obviously you were leading this competition going into the final, and the amount of times that you've either finished second or third at NCAA's. Were
Bro.
you either were you ever at any of those points in those finals or going into those finals leading those NCAA competitions?
Was I ever leading in
Going into
college,
finals.
you're asking?
Hmm.
Well, that's a good question. I mean, for um New York or for the USATF championships to qualify for this meet, I was leading the entire time until Monet Nichols, who's my teammate on this trip, out jumped me by like 1 centimeter. And I didn't respond, right? I didn't just, my sixth jump just wasn't good enough to take that back. I'm trying to think in college. I don't know. I mean, Jasmine was just a very like dominant force, I would say.
Mm.
But I don't know. I'm sure there was sometimes. I mean, oh, actually, my last year in indoors, I was not leading. I think I was, up there. I was not leading. And, but then on my sixth jump, took the lead and had it. And then, lost it because Sydney Willits out jumped me, right? She just PR'd again and had an incredible meet. And that was like honestly devastating. Like it was my last indoors and last chance to be an indoor national champion. And then I went on to get second again outdoors. And I was so upset by finishing with these silvers after what I felt like was so much hard work I'd put in and all this. But I think reflecting back, especially after having this gold on the world stage now, I kind of realized like, oh, in college, I needed the gold. Like I needed it to validate me, to show other people that I was good, to prove to whoever, like, okay, don't worry, like I'm good, I'm good. But and I don't know, that's not a spot of freedom, right? That's not a place where I want to live, even though I didn't even realize that's what I was working for, was like this validation. So I would say I wasn't even ready for those goals. But this time around, after maturing and realizing like, no, my identity isn't in a gold, isn't in 696, like it's in Christ. I think I was ready for it. Like I wanted a gold always. Like I mean, I'm competing, right? And I'm very competitive. So I always want a gold, but I didn't need it. And I thought that was a very, um, I reflected on that a lot, I'd say, is, oh, the needing it or wanting it and the freedom in the want, not the need.
Well, again, the reason I asked that, in some circumstances when you've had, past experiences where, maybe you have led the competition, and then at that point, someone just like rips it away from you. And
Yeah.
so when you do have a lead like this at the world on the biggest stage, as I said many times, like how does one respond? How does, someone respond to like it? I'm not saying there's adversity, but like how do you respond to like the fact that you're holding this lead? You want to maintain your lead. You want to increase your lead. I think you responded pretty well this time around. I mean, you were able to PR again, 696. And regardless, I mean, that would have won you the competition by 13 meters or
Right.
13 centimeters, I should say. So what about what was different? What I mean, was there's again going back to the confidence thing or going back to, the belief that you belonged on this global stage that got you this gold medal?
I was just having the time of my life. Like, I wasn't really focused too much on what other people were doing. Obviously, I'm aware of like what's kind of going on, but I was just like, I'm having a great time. So, like, I'm going to focus on that. And at the 690, I was like, okay, well, we can, um, there's probably more in the tank anyway. So, I fouled my fourth jump, which actually gave me like a lot of confidence because I feel like you lose some adrenaline and energy on the fourth jump sometimes. And I was just like, I love the fourth jump. Fourth jump is the best. Let's go. And fouling that made me realize like, oh, I still have like so much like juice. And so I just moved back. I made an adjustment and then that 696 came from it. So I would say I was just like having a good time. I don't know. And just operating out of that.
And I think, for you, that seems like that's the right approach, and it obviously led to you getting a gold medal. And
Yes.
696 personal best. You're getting so close to the 7 meter mark. Um, Standing on top of the podium, hearing the national anthem, what was that moment like for you?
That was kind of surreal. I feel like I didn't even know what to do up there, honestly. But I was like, wait, what? But I feel like it didn't even really hit me until like the plane ride after. I was like, got a little teary eyed in the plane. I was like, wow, like I have a different title and there's so many blessings that will come from this. Um, and but the podium was super cool. I liked taking a selfie up there with the girls.
Really? Are you someone that sings the national anthem? Are you someone that stands there? Like,
I
or
was
maybe
not
at that point you're kind of
singing.
like freeze.
I was
You're probably
definitely
freezing.
not
It's like,
singing.
oh,
I'm gonna
what?
plug my laptop in real quick, but
Yeah.
um, no, I was not singing. I don't think anyone wants that, but I get this going so we don't die. Sorry. Um, my computer's kind of old, so it needs a little charge. But
Hey, that means I talk too much. That's what it's really telling you right there.
okay, we're good. But okay, perfect. No, no one wants me to sing, and I'm glad I didn't. But no, I mean it was very like patriotic. I was like, dang, like America, you know. Um, but
Yeah, because like I'm always curious as to like as I said, like people sometimes sing, sometimes people just take it in. I mean, there are some people that will get emotional during that time because it's you're hearing your national anthem, you're representing your
yeah,
country, and you just accomplish something that you're proud of, but also you're bringing back to your home country. And so, um, like I said, there's a sense of patriotism.
definitely, definitely, especially like with the kit. Like I'd say, like wearing the kit was so I don't know. It's just I feel like sports is very patriotic too, like more than
Yeah.
maybe some people realize. It's like just getting to represent your country on a global stage. I feel like really just I don't know, just brings a little something to it. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah. One thing I've always been curious, and I've seen it at every competition, is you have the same braid for in the front of your hair. What's the story behind it, and what's the meaning behind it?
I don't know about meaning, but I used to just like slick my hair back into a bun. And then I was just like, I want to do a little something different, just really because I was starting to get bored. So I would kind of just like take a chunk right here and then braid it with some gel. And then I've done like twists and then I've done like bubble braids, but they're just something fun. And that's, they don't hit the sand. So it was a good mixture of fun and not messing up the jump. So
Well, like I said, I mean, there's a lot to look forward to this outdoor season, and I got to assume, Diamond League's on the mind now. Get an opportunity to compete at those championships or at those meets. Prefontaine just announced the top three podium finishers are going to be at Hayward Field in July. Is Prefontaine like is that something you've dreamt of your entire career? Maybe not, because I know you said you're not a huge track fan, but like, is Prefontaine on your mind for this outdoor season?
I'm hoping to be there. And yeah, that's definitely. Um, Listen, there's been a lot of changes with my outdoor season after this meet, so I'm just excited to see where this all takes me.
For sure, for sure. I know, as you said, like 7 meters, it's coming. It's right there, right around the corner. Could we expect it in the outdoor debut? We have no idea.
Hey, anything's possible.
Just have to wait and see. But last thing I will leave you though, your Florida Gators got the job done last night in the Sweet 16.
Yes.
How excited are you for this year's group and what Scott Golden has brought to the program and potentially setting you guys up for a national championship this year?
Hey, it's great. I think that's so exciting, and I'm excited to see, yeah, how far they go, and hopefully it's all the way to the top. And so, I mean, hopefully I get some cool like national champion shirts out of it or something. That's what I'm excited about. Some cool Gator merch.
Well, hopefully the Gators move on. I know they got their Elite Eight matchup. I want to say it's Texas Tech. It could be. I think it is Texas Tech. They're
Okay.
playing in the next round. So, but again, that's down the road, and we're talking track and field here. So, but Claire, really a privilege to get to not only meet you but also get a chance to chat with you about this accomplishment. I know it's a huge deal for yourself, and American long jumping right now is flourishing. You're putting yourself in the same conversation as not only your teammate Jasmine Moore, but Tara Davis Woodhall as well, Monet Nichols, and so it's surreal now that like after this last week, it's kind of like all right, like I have a sense of like I belong with these women now.
Yeah, I think just I've known these women for quite a while now, and yeah, USA long jumping is so sick right now. It's honestly awesome to be a part of. So yeah, I'm feeling blessed to be here and excited to see what we all do.
Awesome. Well, again, Claire, really appreciate your time hopping on here. Again, Claire Bryant, world indoor champion in the women's long jump from China this year. 696 gets the win. She'll make her debut at some point this outdoor season. We don't know exactly what that will be, but we look forward to seeing what she's able to do. And of course, the road continues on to Tokyo for the rest of this outdoor season. So, Claire, really appreciate your time. Best of luck the rest of this outdoor season.
Bye.